Wee, what's going on YouTube? It's Donnie B all day. I bought this yesterday at Foxwoods, man, at Brooks Brothers. This thing is so nice, man. It's cozy. Go to Brooks Brothers. It costs a little bit of money, but you get some really good stuff. So listen, I am going to teach you guys how to make an amazing seafood tortellini with just 3 ingredients. I almost put up 2. With just 3 ingredients, and it's all stuff that's store-bought. You don't have to make anything, right? Check this out. I went out and got lobster bisque. Ooh, I might have to flip this video because everything's going to be backwards, or you'll just believe me that it says lobster bisque. Lobster bisque. I got cheese tortellini if you've never been to a Wegmans. So I went and got some cheese tortellini, and I got some nice jumbo sea scallops. So basically, you can guess what's going to happen. I'm going to boil some tortellini, and when it's done, I'm going to put it in some already cooking lobster bisque. And the lobster bisque is going to act as, like, you know, you'd put tomato sauce. Instead of tomato sauce, you're just going to use lobster bisque. And instead of a soup, it becomes sauce. You throw a little bit of mozzarella in there, so 4 ingredients. You could throw a little bit of mozzarella in there to make it thicker if you want. You don't have to. Now you're back down to 3. But you can, to make it a little bit thicker and give it a little bit of stretch and goo. You can do that. Now that's it. So the lobster bisque is going to go in a little pot. The tortellini is going to go in a pot, and they're both going to heat up. That's it. The only thing you have to cook is your scallops. Now, if you want, you can actually boil your scallops. You can throw them right in with your tortellini. Don't do it the entire time. You'll overcook them. Or you can pan sear them, which will add a little bit of flavor, and then when you're getting it inside your mix, it'll be voila. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to pan sear our scallops while I boil the water for the tortellini. Really simple. All right, so when you pan sear a scallop, remember that it only takes about 3 minutes. It's going to be the time it takes to heat up the pan. You don't count as part of the 3 minutes. It's the cooking time. So what you're going to do is, got a little hole in the bag, is you are going to heat up your pan with about a tablespoon of oil. You can use vegetable oil or whatever. Vegetable oil is usually most common. I use a little bit of avocado oil. So what I'm going to do is just set my pan to a medium thing. I'm also boiling my water right now for the tortellini. But remember, since it only takes 3 minutes, 3 minutes to cook that overall, make sure your separation time is okay. I don't know why I just opened up the pan. First things first is you have to dry your scallops. You want your scallops dry, because when you're doing a blackened scallop, moisture keeps your scallops from drying properly. So I'll show you how I'm gonna dry my scallops. Don't forget to have a good kitchen knife. I'm using a Kubi, because why not use a Kubi in the kitchen? All I'm doing is ripping open the bag to the scallops, and I'm going to drain all the water from the bag, trying not to lose any scallops, because those are to be eaten, and that would suck to lose those. So squeezing the bag, I'm just going to pour out the water, and it's hard to get out all the water, so you have to just keep like mixing your scallops around to get them out. Unless you bought them fresh from the store, you can go to the grocery store and just get a bunch of scallops, then you won't have this problem. But I bought frozen scallops. Even though they're wild caught, they're frozen scallops, and that means once they unfreeze, they thaw, you have all that ice water, and that is what is in my scallops. But once drained, that's good. So all I'm doing, let me bring you guys, actually I'll bring you up. Boop. Put this back down over here. Worst video ever. So basically what I have is a plate with paper towels on it, right? And that is what I'm using to dry my scallops. And if you don't like scallops, you don't need to use scallops. You could use pretty much anything or nothing at all. I like to use scallops, A, because I like scallops, and B, it just adds something when you're doing some kind of seafood meal. It just adds something. So remember, you want your scallops to be at room temperature. So This whole process should take you about 10 minutes because you want to get them to room temperature before you throw them on the skillet. That's why I don't know why I was starting my skillet so early. But here you go. You can see my paper towels are completely saturated. So once they're saturated, what I'm going to do is transfer to a drier paper towel after I spill them on the counter and get them all out there, and then continue my drying process. I want they don't have to be like so dry that it's like, you know, SpongeBob out of water. Patrick. They don't have to be that dry, but you want them pretty dry, just because it's going to help with your searing, right? And you don't have to sear, of course, you don't have to. It's just better. It's just better. I want you guys to have the best experience you can possibly have when cooking your awesome meals. And these are drying pretty well, actually, and they're drying pretty quick. And I think I'm going to transfer one more paper towel, and that will be it for the drying process. And then what I'm just going to do is let them sit for a few minutes all by themselves to think about what they've done. And that is it. And I think that's all my scallops. Boop, right there. So now that I have my scallops sitting and doing pretty good in the drying process, let's see, my water is already getting some bubbles in the bottom, so that's good. All I'm going to do is wait a few minutes, and then I'll show you what's next. All right, so I transferred my lobster bisque into a small pot. I don't have to put that on yet because that cooks really fast. Remember, your lobster bisque, when you buy it in a store, it's already pre-cooked. You're just reheating it. Same thing when you buy your clam chowders and all that. It's cooked. So my pasta is almost complete. Remember, there's a difference between frozen pasta and unfrozen pasta. This stuff will cook in about 5 minutes, where frozen pasta takes about 15. So I always recommend, even though I love Angie's tortellini, it's some of the best, if you don't want to spend all day, get something like this, and it'll just cook up way faster. The stuff at Costco can cook between 3 and 5 minutes, depending on what you're doing with it. Really good. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put just a little bit of avocado oil in my pan, and I'm going to heat up my pan until the avocado oil smokes just a little bit. So I want to do like a medium to high. So like I have, it goes, 2, 4, 6, 8 high on mine. So what I want to do is put it around a 6 on my pan. And what this is going to do, it's just going to let me know, A, that when it's hot enough, and B, when it's ready to go. Also, you want to have a little bit of butter laying around, and you want like a tablespoon or teaspoon of butter, maybe like a teaspoon of butter. So I happen to have one of these. It's pretty simple to use because I just open it and throw it in there. It was a leftover from a restaurant, so I'm just going to use that because it's going to work. Also, you're going to need salt and pepper, or anything you want to use to season your scallops with. But that's what I'm using today. I might use, I'm going to go with something different. I'm using this. This is the Himalayan pink sea salt, pepper, and garlic. This is a great mix. It's a great mix. I can use it on just about anything. So this is almost ready to go. It's just waiting for time. The scallops. Let's see how these scallops. See, these scallops are looking good. So you see how. Oh yeah. Okay, so you see how it's not all soaking wet. There's nothing pouring out of there. That's a nice, fairly dry scallop. And it, depending on how big your scallops are, is going to be depending on how you do it. If you have full scallops, like these are jumbo sea scallops, but they're all cut. So this one's obviously cut in half, but if you have one that's not cut in half, remember there's a flat side to your scallop, right? So this is a flat side, this is a flat side, then they're usually round. When you put it on your skillet, you want round side down. When you're talking about cuts, it's a little bit more difficult, so I have a little bit more freedom, where if it was just full scallops, big round scallops, and don't use bay scallops, use sea scallops, there's a huge difference. You want to use bay clams when you cook and sea scallops, right? It's a major difference. But since I have a bunch of smaller cuts like this, I'm not going to worry about that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pop them down. Now, it takes about 1.5 minutes to get a full scallop good on one side, and then you flip it for another 1.5 minutes, and they're done. That's all it takes. Because I have a bunch of really small shards, it's not going to take that long. Mine are going to cook really fast. So I'm looking at, well, I'm looking at a female blue jay. And so female blue jays aren't blue though. So it's gonna be pretty quick. Mine are gonna cook really, really fast. Basically, I'll show you what's gonna happen. I'm just going to throw them down. They're gonna start browning, and then I'm going to just mix them up. Now, because they're shards, it's really hard to turn them over like perfectly and consistently. So I'm just kind of giving it a little shake, right? So I know my scallops are ready to go. And the reason I'm using these small scallops is because they're going inside a base for something. If I was using them as the actual meal instead of an add-on to a meal, then I would want the big full ones. So it was all about just choosing the right ones. Now my tortellini, and again, having my kubi around to cut that open. So this is getting ready to go inside the water. It's got, right now I have a slow roll going. So once I get the full boil, it's just gonna be ready to pop in there, and then that's gonna take no time at all. So my scallops, I'm starting to get some smoke coming off of my pan from the oil. That's a good sign. That's exactly what I wanted. Now normally with scallops, you take those big ones and you go around the edge of the pan, right? You just go around the edge of the pan, and it makes your heat will distribute more evenly. But with these, I'm just throwing them right in because, again, they're small pieces, so I have no worries, and that's good like that. So that's all that took, literally. I dried them, I threw them on a pan with oil, I put a little seasoning on them, and as they start to cook now, I'm gonna throw a little butter in there and just let it naturally mix itself in. And that's it. So the butter is in there. Everything is on the way to getting done. The scallops, for people who think that like, oh no, I would cook more, but you know, it's a pain in the butter. It's just too hard. I just don't know what I'm doing. That was it. That was it. So I'm going to throw my tortellini in the pot. Trying not to splash myself and burn my feet off. Tortellini's in the pot. That's it. That's it. Cooking is so easy when you do it right. Now, a lot of times with pasta, you'll know it's done because it'll float, but some pasta just floats no matter what. So, don't think about that. Basically, you just do the test. You take a fork and you test it yourself. So right now, all I'm doing, because it's been almost a minute and I have small pieces, I am taking my scallops and just kind of mixing them around a little bit. Now you want a temperature going into this thing about 350 degrees, I think is what it takes to properly blacken a scallop. So, but since I'm not really blackening my scallops, I'm just literally heating them up in the mixture because there's just two small pieces to worry about pan searing and blacking them. And normally when you do it, you want to put space. You want to let them breathe. I just threw the whole clump in there because it's going in something else. If this was not going in something else, that's not how it would be getting done. Clean off that. Put it back in my pocket, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this on a really low heat, like low. Oops, wrong one. I almost turned off my tortellini. So I want to go at a very, very low heat with my my lobster bisque. A, because I don't want it burning to the bottom of the pan. B, because I'm just heating it up. That's it. Just heating it up. So let's see. So I'm getting a little golden brown on some of these pieces, which is exactly what you want. That's gonna be so good. So now I'm just gonna mix it, and I'm basically just putting the golden brown color all around the scallops instead of, so let's see, I don't know if you'll see the plain white side and that golden brown side. That's what happens when you pan sear a scallop. You get that nice coloration, and it just changes everything, because now what you're doing is you're adding multiple textures. You're gonna have that really soft, nice, smooth inner in the middle, but then you're gonna have a nice crispy edge. And it really, really does make a difference when you're cooking or when you're eating to have those contrasts. It just makes everything better. So I'm just gonna mix them up. So some of the sides are gonna get blackened or pan seared, and some of them won't, but they're all going to be cooked, so I don't have to worry about that. And remember, scallops, there's no such thing as undercooking. You can overcook a scallop and they'll become rubbery. So don't overcook your scallops, but you can't undercook them, because scallops are one of those food that you can actually eat raw. So the tortellini is almost done already. Everything's heating up. Show you in a second. All right, so my scallops are cooked. They're doing really good. They taste amazing. They look great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scallops. I'm going to cut down the heat actually. I'm going to transfer my scallops to my lobster bisque. Pull my lobster bisque onto this burner just because it's easier to work around, and just mix it in. And well, that's it for that one. Hold on. So good. All right, so now I told you that the scallops were done, and then I was adding it to the lobster bisque to cook, right? And you're thinking, but you said don't overcook the scallops. So what happens? Since I'm putting the scallops into a moist environment and it's on a very low heat, it's just heating, I'm not going to worry about overcooking. So don't think that putting your scallops in your lobster bisque would overcook. Not going to happen. So the tortellini's done. It went really fast. It was less than 5 minutes. And all I'm going to do is strain the water. Then I'm going to take this and add it to that. That's it. Hold on. All right, so my lobster bisque is pretty much done. How do you know it's done, D-Bad? Well, there's two ways you can tell. You can either taste it. I just mixed it in, so it's hard to see. Or you'll see some coloration changes where you'll get like these dark streaks. It looks like, kind of looks like a darker orange oil. Once you see those dark streaks happening, then you know that your lobster bisque is cooked. And so right here, I don't know if you could, it's going to pick it up, but there's like these dark orange, like it's like a separation of the oils, or the cream and the butter or whatever's inside of there that's making that happen. That's how you know. So you don't have to every 3 minutes go, is it done yet? That's it. That's a simple way to tell us. Hold on. All right, so now the last step is pretty much the simplest. It's all pretty simple. I'm going to take a little bit of my lobster bisque and I'm going to pour it into the empty pot that I cooked my tortellini in, just to put some in there on the bottom. And what I want to do is just move it around a little bit so some of the lobster bisque gets on the side. Why, D-Dad? Why would you do that? Because I don't want my pasta sticking to the pan, right? And it's going to help when it comes down to mixing it. So I have the tortellini in there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a little bit of mix before I pour the rest on top. That simple. So now I just want to get out all my scallops and all my wonderful lobster bisque, and at least as much as I plan to or need to. That is delicious. Lobster bisque is so good. Don't know how to work my own sink. All right, so just remember, you don't want it to stick to the pan. So as soon as you take it off the pan, just give it a quick rinse. It'll make cleaning up later so much easier. All right, so now I have my tortellini, I have my mix, and all I'm gonna do is mix it together. Now, when you mix together your tortellini, mix it gently. Otherwise, you'll just shred your tortellini to pieces, and while it's still the same meal, it doesn't look as cool. So get it all nice and mixed together. Once I get it to a certain point, I'll just pick up the pot and I'll give it a quick stir. and I'll show you what the tortellini looks like. All right, look at that. Look at that. See how it's a sauce instead of a soup? And you can see that the noodle of the tortellini absorbs a lot of this lobster bisque. So it's really where you'd expect to see, like, oh great, now it's just soup. It's fish soup with tortellini. No, the soup literally becomes a coating, so it makes it a sauce. So you don't have to put it in a bowl. You can throw it right on a plate, and you don't have to worry about it all spilling over the sides and all that. It's just good. So I'm gonna plate right now, and then we're gonna test it. Now I didn't put mozzarella in there. I didn't do cheese. Personal preference. If you want it, use it. Hold on. All right, and there you have it. This is phenomenal. Hopefully that's not all blurry. I can't tell, but this is just amazing. Scallops, lobster, tortellini. I threw a little bit of Parmesan cheese on it with some Italian seasoning just to give it a little bit of extra. But look at that, man. That right there is freaking beautiful. Got a little tortellini here. Let me see. Let me break apart a scallop. Oh my gosh, that is so good. So I can taste the seasoning inside of my scallop. The cheese tortellini, fantastic. The lobster bisque adds such a rich aroma to your palate. It is that is something special right there. You can see it's not glossy inside my scallop. That is fully cooked, and it is soft, and it is wonderful. Guys, that's the kind of stuff that you make. You got people coming over, and you want to impress them. That's the stuff you make that makes them think, holy crap, I need a divorce because I got to marry somebody that cooks like that. That is so good. And you saw how easy it was. I threw scallops on a pan. I threw lobster bisque in a pot. I threw tortellini in a pot. And eventually they all came together. That was it. Whew. Man. This is absolutely amazing. And here's the best part about this. This is the first time I ever cooked this. I just decided. I was walking through the grocery store and I said, what do I want to cook? And I like creative cooking. And I like easy cooking because I don't want to spend all day cooking. I want to spend my day eating. So, so that's what I did. I just saw some ingredients. I was walking through and I was like, ooh, maybe I'll get a little tortellini. And I went, oh, maybe I'll use some lobster bisque as a base. And then I went, maybe I'll buy some lobster and cut it up. And then I said, oh, wait, no, maybe I'll do some scallops and give it a little something different, because I could add lobster to lobster bisque and just make the bisque more lobstery, or I could do scallops. That was a good choice. So sometimes, literally, it just comes down to taking a walk. Oh.